Excellent. Hello world, Podlayer team back at it again. This is one of our track 2 sessions. We work on the voicing of Podlayer principles, and those are broken down into theme sections, and then each theme section has the individual principles which are put into a bardic beat. So right now we're in the theme section advanced area, which is about yourself. So we will do instructions and get right to it. I am Naiji Coach. With me have Naiji, Ben, and Glenn. And let's see. Glenn, you haven't gone first in a while. Do you want to go first, or do you want to let Ben? Your call.
I actually haven't been working on the beats since last time, so I have yet to I didn't like redigest everything, what I've been doing, or what I have here. So maybe it'd be better if Ben went, I think.
All right, so we'll leave with Ben, and then Mitchell comes on. He can go as well, and then you can do whatever you feel you can accomplish in the session, and then we'll see if we can't maybe tease a little bit out for each of you, and that'll be it. All right, so Ben, what you got?
All right, sure. Last time we were halfway through kind of like a go-through of my beats. I was basically just going through, because I have the 36 done, but we were right now we're just kind of like going through them and improving them and refining them and stuff.
Nice. Okay.
So
continue.
All right, so let's see here. Let's pull my beats up real quick. There they are. Go. Let's see. All right. So right now we're on YouTube. All right. I got into YouTube in 2006 to 2007. At about the same time, I was really getting into RuneScape. I was really into watching other people play video games, RuneScape as well as many others, which expanded my media virtual village a great deal, as I became familiar with all sorts of different people and music. This gave me entertainment value in exploring all of the different ongoings of the internet within the media areas that I was interested in, notably gaming. This helped segue into expanding my virtual village even further into other areas using YouTube and other internet databases. I enjoyed it because it was fun to ghost walk, and the unexpected nature of watching other people play was very interesting to me.
I like it. Sounds real strong. One thing I noted in the very beginning, and if you want to do this on purpose, that's fine. I was let you know you are doing a thing, which is the use of into. That you were into something. In the very beginning, I think you used that phrase like 3 times in the first 1.5 sentences.
Yeah.
So you can decide if that's what you want, because I sometimes do that where I'll like do something twice or 3 times and give it kind of like a rhythmic effect. It can be kind of staccato or just sort of like even hypnotizing, but it does stand out, which is why, unless you're using it for that purpose, usually you want to maybe use a different way of saying some of them so they don't all have, you know what I mean? Read the first sentence again, sentence and a half.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I said it like 3 times. But do you just want to hear it again? Just
No. So if you see it, then you can kind of see if you think it'd be better to maybe come with another way of saying that sentiment. Such as
yeah, it is a little repetitive. I could probably substitute words for, or substitute other words for some of the intos probably.
Well, like, I don't have a problem with that practice, and one is doing it. It's just it stands out, which is why when you're doing it, make sure you're doing it because you want it to stand out.
Yeah. Yeah, I say it twice in the first sentence, and then right at the beginning of the second sentence, I say it.
So you can
Yep.
you just make a note there and deal with that later. But I like that. It was a good arc.
Nice. As time went on, especially due to the suggested videos feature on YouTube, I became more familiar with internet culture in general, branched out to other forums and areas besides YouTube. This includes politics, atheism, technology, music, anime, and many others. In short, my connection to YouTube gave me an avenue to search the web for other forms of media, which gave me a knowledge base that I could eventually channel into Podlair. In fact, the very way in which I came across the Human Quality Research Project that I'm a part of was on YouTube.
Nice.
Nice. The aftermath of my move from Minnesota to Michigan was a pretty dull and lonely part of my life for me. I did make some friends in Michigan prior to becoming Podlair, but very few could be considered close and none who were really close. I had much more trouble making friends after moving from Minnesota to Michigan between 7th and 8th grade than I had when I had moved from Arizona to Minnesota in the 3rd grade. I became better at having casual friendships with people. It became more difficult to develop close friendships. I would go to school, go home, stare into space for 10 minutes, and then play video games pretty much every single day until I joined debate, which changed things dramatically.
Nice.
My grades were also pretty bad because I didn't have any motivation to do any of the work. I found school in general to be tiresome, not worth it, socially or academically. I just wanted to get home as soon as possible to browse YouTube or play games. However, this became a different experience when I joined debate. I started getting straight A's and overall became a star student because I had a reason to become more interested in academic subjects than I had previously. And I also just overall became a lot smarter and better at studying through the extremely high intensity training that the activity provides. This is a benefit that has stayed with me for the most part since then. When I first got to university, I wasn't sure what I wanted to take or what I wanted to do, so I took calculus thinking that I would probably eventually decide to go into a STEM field that required it. I ended up dropping the course because I had fallen so far behind from not understanding the formal definition of a derivative. This gave me a strong sense of doubt in my abilities when it came to mathematics, and thus I began to doubt whether I should consider going into a STEM field at all. After spending a summer learning about all of differential and most of integral calculus on Khan Academy, I retook the course and succeeded massively. This gave me a lot of energy and inspiration that I channeled into my skill in programming and my heroism in general.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. For most of my life, I've scheduled and ritualized my days to do the work I absolutely needed to for school or extracurricular activities, and spend the rest of my time playing video games or doing things that I like to do to relax. This is a pretty typical relationship for people to have with their Mazoot, but once I became a member of Podlair, it became apparent, and was apparent for a long time, that I wasn't making enough time for heroic work as I would like to be making, as my spirits felt that I should be making. Thus, I switched over to working a certain number of hours every day on productive work, which is enough to do the schoolwork and so forth that I needed to do, while also still leaving enough time for productive heroic work with Podlair, yet also doesn't cause me to overwork myself. Whether working or playing, I am always seen as a cave dweller by the world.
Sounds really good. Just one question. Did we cover Mazoot? Did you give a very short definition in another beat, or is this the first time it's coming up?
This is the first time it's coming up.
Okay, so we should probably give it like a 2-word or 3-word, short as we can, little thing there. So Mazoot.
Yeah. Maybe I guess instead of Mazoot we could say, or maybe we could still say Mazoot, but just like after we could say like, which is like this, or like
Here's a short one. If you guys can beat this, by all means, give it a go. Here's what happened. I came with 5 words, but they're pretty fast, which is the worldly roles I play.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. And I can, of course, I can modify it or whatever, but that's a good thing to put in for now. All right, we got it in there. Anything else, or?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. I did various public speaking activities, including debate, Mall United Nations, and extemporaneous speaking on various political topics. This greatly heightened my overall bearing and confidence when it came to speaking what I'm thinking about, add a word here, on any given topic to people that I may or may not have a personal relationship or connection to. I became more intensely interested in various major social and political issues that are of great impact to humans today, and also developed much stronger reasoning skills than I had previously. I still benefit from these skills as a programmer and Podlight practitioner today.
Nice.
Yeah, so this one kind of, it's similar to the debate beat, but it kind of brings it more broadly to public speaking. So I guess that's why I think it's
that makes sense. Debate's
yeah.
one thing, now like your initial entrance, and then expanding from there.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoy hanging out with my Podler friends in various ways, including Google Hangouts, casual conversations in our Underground Temple Facebook group, as well as private messages and emails. It's great to have people to bond with that you actually have a meaningfully heroic relationship and connection to. Instead of just having conversation and enjoying time together just to have that connection and energy for the sake of having it, that conversation and connection is a part of a great heroic story. So the fun and enjoyment can be augmented by the purpose, and the purpose can be augmented by the fun and enjoyment.
Nice.
Last year, shortly after completing my first introductory courses on programming, I began working on a collage training application called the Sample Surfer. I then erected a website that the Sample Surfer uses, providing collaging and database navigation without needing to download an application. These projects are basically my life right now and consume the vast majority of my time when there isn't other work that I need to do. I'm extremely passionate about building new tools that will benefit the heroic cause.
Excellent. One thing, I think one or two descriptive words to add to the word collage, because it's like a big deal what you're doing. So even one or two words, like say, like, you know, facial recognition collage or quality, something.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, actually, let's say like human quality recognition.
Okay.
Yeah. Programming is fulfilling for me because it creates a bridge that makes it very easy to bring ideas all the way down the SS index very quickly. My spirits, especially my other, give me new insights and ideas constantly of where I can go next, which I get a lot of energy talking about with my spirits and fellow team members. I then champion the development of the ideas that seem worthy of my time and energy, testing and fixing any bugs and issues that come up along the way until the idea becomes a reality. As a result of the speed and energy of this process, I find programming to be incredibly valuable to my NIGE-GP pathway.
Sounded very good. Is this the first time we're mentioning other?
No.
Okay, so we've already given the
Yeah, I think I've mentioned spirits and other multiple times at this point.
Excellent.
But I mean, like if we want this to stand on its own, like if we want to separate this beat from the rest of them, we could still like add descriptive words in there.
Maybe something you would tell yourself you don't have to, but you can maybe put it in parentheses here. That way you know that, like, normally I don't need to say it if I've said it before, but if I haven't, I can mention it.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll just write down other and spirits covered, but to stand on own needs description, something like that.
Nice. Could you read the last sentence to me one more time?
Oh, for sure. As a result of the speed and energy of this process, I find programming to be incredibly valuable to my NIG peak pathway. Oh, I said peak pathway too. Yeah, maybe I should. And also, I said NIG. So
yes. So
yeah. And I also said SS index.
I'll have to get back to that one. I think I might be able to get those two with like a fragment. So maybe where the sentence ends now instead of a period, make it a comma and say you can adjust this. But I'm thinking it's like a placeholder. How my innate energetic needs are best met, something like that. That kind of captures what NIG and peak pathway mean.
Yeah, I think that
first year innate energetic needs or preferences. What do you want to say? Maybe preferences. That's
yeah. In fact, I could even just replace NIG peak pathway with that, but it's kind of like, you know, there's advantages to leaving it there. I guess if a person already happens to know a little bit about.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of.
So maybe actually put, you know, like a slash and then do the other one, or maybe do one and put the other one in parentheses. So you can pick and choose. But I think you.
Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. I'll put like a slash there.
But yeah, if you haven't told them what NIG your peak pathway is, then I would use that other definition as your casual layperson definition.
Yeah.
So you got innate energetic preferences and then how they're best met.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. SS index, where is that in there?
Oh yeah, it's in the first sentence. It says, let's see, programming is fulfilling for me because it creates a bridge that makes it very easy to bring ideas all the way down the SS index very quickly. So I guess I could say, I don't even have to say, I could just use peak pathway again here actually. I don't even need to say SS index. Because I mean, in fact, that's more specific because I'm talking about, because when I say I'm bringing the ideas down the SS index, I'm really, the reason why that's significant is because, like, I guess the reason why I'm mentioning that is because, like, of the peak pathway aspect of it. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's kind of both. Like, even beyond the peak pathway, it's just kind of like cool to be able to do that. But
well, a concept that may be similar to this that people can relate to is, you know, bring something from
like concept to reality.
Yeah, that might be a good turn of phrase that you could use there that would mean that, and then later on you could layer it in that, but that would actually get the sentiment across in a language a lot of people do.
Yeah, in fact, I think here I'll just replace SS index from concept to reality, just so I'm not like putting like too much jargon in here.
No, that's good. Yeah, because that gets across what you're thinking, but in verbiage that people are more familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely advantageous. With the work that I've done on the sample surfer and the website, and the energy and inspiration that programming gives me in general, I have developed a sense of destiny that this should be what I do for the rest of my life. I would like to be a software developer of some kind. I don't know what kind of developer I'd like to be, but currently I'm leaning towards specializing in higher level programming skill sets that work more with abstract libraries and less with the machine architecture. That is so far what I found most inspiring and fulfilling when it comes to programming.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I know we had like a conversation before where like somebody might not understand like what abstract libraries means in the context of programming, but it just kind of sounds cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's like
yeah.
Oh, hi, Jillian.
Hey, John.
Coach is having technical difficulties connecting to the website. And I don't really know how to fix it because the website is working for myself. It's working for Glenn. It seems like it's something specific to Coach's connection to the website, so I'm not entirely sure what to do about it. And I guess my suggestion was maybe we could talk to the hosting company and see if they can help us.
Yeah, so what is it? What message is it giving you?
It's just not working. And so
Yeah.
he gave me a few other links to try out. They also didn't work. And so he says it probably has to do with the network.
That's interesting because, yeah, I mean, I had tried those links some links that you had sent out previously to the website and they've worked for me. So,
Yeah, it seemed like it just suddenly stopped working today. And
Yeah, exactly. I've been cruising on that thing.
Yeah.
But Ben had a theory that maybe because I use it so every day, that they thought maybe I was some sort of hacker or something.
I mean, like, I don't know, but
So he said, no, it's no hackers.
no hackers.
All right, so maybe we can look into that after we get done the other stuff in the session. Maybe we'll end it once we run through stuff, and then we kind of touch on it a little bit.
yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay, cool. All right, please continue.
All right. All right. So this gets into like relationship stuff. I don't really have any plans to attempt to go out and find a romantic partner. The reason for that is not that I'm not attracted to the idea, but rather that I am a very busy person with many heroic visions and goals in mind that I need to be able to fulfill. Considering that it is a given that I will eventually need to obtain a job, that simply doesn't give me much room for another person in my life. On top of that, I feel that in order for things to work out, and with all of the time that I will need to be spending dedicated to the Podlair cause, it is only natural to expect that any long-term partner become or already be Podlair as well. In short, I am very much open to the idea, but the standards are quite high and niche.
Sounds good.
I discovered typology from a simple Google search during my sophomore year of high school. I, at the time, had a speculation about the possibility of scientifically classifying humans into different categories, and through a bunch of web surfing, I began browsing and using typology forums and becoming a member of Typology Town. Typology really helped me develop a sense of wonder about the human condition and the meaning of existence that I hadn't had before, as I spent so much time exploring all of the various types and their roles that they supposedly play in our world, because type is not a proven phenomenon. It gave me a sense of what a real-life role-playing game was like before becoming a member of Podlair.
Nice.
During the summer before my junior year of high school, I was browsing YouTube for most recent MBTI videos, and I came across Demas's dismantling MBTI video. I was happy to see it because I was looking for a serious opponent of the MBTI for some time now, and had already shared and understood many of his criticisms. I started looking into Podlair, and after beginning to see the phenomenon, I requested a video read and eventually participated in the Podlair public service announcement program that had started at around the same time that I got involved. I learned a lot about people reading, voicing, producing media outreach, and building communities, and haven't looked back since.
Nice.
Before coming to Podlair, I had the mindset, as many people do, that the way that whether the actions that I took in life for me personally were right or wrong, and how I developed myself as a person, whether that was right or wrong, was up to me, and people couldn't say otherwise about that, and that I should just be happy with what comes of that. This mentality met a rude awakening when I became a member of Podlair, because it became apparent to me that I should always be striving to improve myself in whatever way that I can, whether that be my opinions, remolding and updating my mental models, as well as improving my heroic character and personal development, always being open to questioning every action and heroic call that I make and am responsible for.
Very nice. That's a high calling.
Yeah. It's challenging but very rewarding.
For sure, it's the way to go. It's hard. It's challenging, but it's the most rewarding. The two go together.
Yeah. Another challenge for me was feeling the weight of my own becalment. When I was an NPC, I sort of just accepted that my life wasn't going to have much of a significant impact on anything. The becalment doesn't shake me up so much in a direct way, typically, as while it certainly mattered to my peaking and development, I was so much more asleep to what was going on with the human condition and my power and potential in existence, that I ended up not noticing it as much. What happened to me after I spent a significant amount of time as a pod layer practitioner is that my higher spirits started treating me harshly because of my becolement, my lack of action and initiative to use my time and energy for heroic good. Of course, I was doing the routine stuff like attending hangouts, but my higher spirits have much higher expectations than that, which is for me to give it my all every single day.
Very nice.
I have an interesting relationship with my Daryu, otherwise known as Dark-Yu, or the major spirit form that handles stress and the harder parts of life within the psyche. I'm constantly a very nervous and on alert person. My Daryu helps me notice and properly take into consideration the worldly activities and events that I'm responsible for. If it were not for my Daryu, I would probably forget to do things even more often than I already do, or worse, not properly assess the risks and real-world consequences of my actions. My Daryu also helps me greatly with managing my demons so that they don't get on me too much, which interestingly creates a relationship where I will often be in Daryu when my demons are getting on me to alert me to their presence. The Daryu is quite scary and difficult, but it is that way, so I'm always doing my best to survive and grow stronger. I've had a close connection to my other for as long as I can remember, but it became really heightened when I learned that while she was there, as well as what mojo she is. That really taught me a lot about what was going on with my higher spirits in general. Let's add that there. And about her in particular. It feels very empowering to know that there will always be a metaphysical lover there with you through the peaks and valleys, the good times and the bad. She is my ultimate fangirl and magical kitty cat inspiration.
Nice.
God, I love that sentence. From being a member of Pod Layer, my intelligence has developed in many ways. I've developed a much greater awareness of myself and others, that is the people and events that are happening locally in my life, as well as politics and pop culture, which make up my virtual village. I've also greatly expanded my understanding of science, reason, and logic, largely contributed to by Mitchell and Ademus, but also because of Pod Layer's overall highly rigorous approach to seeking truth and discovering the human condition and the meaning of existence. I've also become more spiritually intelligent as I've learned about the rituals one needs to undergo in order to enact their peak pathway effectively, as well as all of the various spirit forms that one dialogues with on this journey. The Fumasta is the major personified spirit guide that takes on the ever-evolving apex heroic form that I aspire to be, my path to greatness. My Fumasta tends to be summoned in general when I feel myself moving towards greatness, and particularly so when I'm listening to music that summons that kind of spirit, or I'm having a vision about my story where I'm on a path to greatness in some way. It is an experience that I really have to earn. If my spirits and I are feeling becalmed, or I'm not being as heroic as I could be in some other way, I simply won't be dialoguing with my Fumasta as much, and having as many grand visions about my destiny as a hero.
Nice. It's a very, very intriguing hero.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel really good. It's starting to feel really comfortable,
Yeah.
a lot more than it did initially to speak these out. I've been working on an application called the Sample Surfer for the past year now, which is an incredibly powerful collaging video game that is super useful for advancing one's human quality reading training. I may want to work on the sentence, but we can, yeah. On top of this, I have developed a website that integrates very nicely with the Sample Surfer to provide a more convenient way to access the data and take advantage of the Sample Surfer's capabilities. Now I'm integrating the Sample Surfer further to turn the website into a full-blown human quality reading teaching platform that will be capable of taking anyone from beginner to advanced.
Very nice. Mm-hmm.
The first sentence I felt was kind of like,
I think
it's sort of like there's a lot sort of crammed into it, and it felt like maybe I could have improved the flow of it, I guess.
I think what it was a little on the nose and technical, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So I think what happens if you try, this is something that can really work, try saying something like 10 times. And one of the benefits of being an IG is that I know sometimes like, why does the brain work like this? But it's powerful in a good, very good way. is it doesn't like to take the same route twice. So if you keep saying a sentence out, whether you'll start taking over like an actor doing dialogue, and the more times you do it, the more you feel like, yeah, I know how this line needs to be said, and you'll adjust it. Maybe you'll make it into 2 shorter sentences, or maybe just make it more personal, or maybe you'll just adjust the way the word flows to give it a bit more of a kind of a lilting rhythm instead of right now has a bit of a flat rhythm. So that I think that all happens pretty much naturally if you just keep saying something. You'll want to stylize it. And also, because we don't like repeating, the more time you say something, it feels more energetic to actually say it in a way that you feel good about. And your psyche will start trying to improve it to make you like saying it more. Because it doesn't like saying something more than once, other than like a line from a movie that it really likes. Then it's okay. So it'll kind of naturally want to take it and make it more like a line from a movie that you would think was cool to say.
Yeah, I find that's very effective. Reading through multiple times, speaking out loud is definitely very useful as well. Because there's always like when you're reading something, it might like sound good in your head, but there's something about actually enunciating it that gives it. It just gives it a more. It just concretizes it a little bit more.
It does.
Makes it, gives you the experience of what it's actually like to speak it. So
definitely. And vice versa, actually. You can't do it the other way around, although you may want to sometimes. I know I sometimes, even though I've been doing this for a while, I still have the urge to want to get to that part when I do the first writing of it. But actually, when you write it, to mention how it is now, just getting out what you want to say on the nose and with the basic logic of how it works, that's the most important thing, is to get it from your head out onto a page. You're like, okay, that's what I think. And then you start playing with saying it. If you try to say it too perfectly or too like apex stylized, then it sometimes inhibits you from actually knowing what you want to say.
yeah, it's kind of like you're sort of over investing in kind of like an artifact or an instrument like that may change, I guess. Like it's like something that's not fully developed. You're sort of over investing in something that's not fully developed, I guess.
Yeah. And critically, as a principle, it's putting too much emphasis on the delivery over the message. The first task is the message. I mean, well, first task obviously is figure out some truth that's useful. So figure out some truth, then actually state it. Do you know what I mean? Like state the truth of it, and then worry about the styling of it. Because otherwise, I'm sure you guys know this in like various movies or things you've seen, or even political speeches or teachers' lectures. If the subject matter of the message becomes beholden to the method of delivery, that's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, the first thing you have to have is power in the words, and power comes from truth. But obviously, then you can bonus stack it with delivery.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean the flow of having really effective styling is just going to come more naturally if something is more developed. It's going to become more meaningful. It's going to be harder to
I agree totally. One thing I had a vision on there might be helpful for you guys. Probably already know this, but just helps to talk it out sometimes. This is people in general, but the way we work with RP Pathway, it's particularly to kind of keep hold on, is the style isn't something you reach for. It's something you get pushed towards. And that's why there's a lot of different speakers that, I think we all like, that they sound very different, but they have power. And so that's the thing is there's a when you're saying something that you believe to be true, it's got a swagger to it. It's got a truthful, purposeful swagger to, and that can be very chilly and sedate. It can actually be very bombastic. It can be very intensely focused, whatever feels good for you, but that's kind of like the surfer styling. But the wave comes from what you're saying and how much you believe it to be true. and how much you believe it needs to be known to be true by more people.
I also think the style it kind of just like comes into play anyways. Like you, in the process of trying to figure out how to speak the truth, the way in which you kind of do that when you start doing it, it kind of becomes your signature way of doing it. You know, it just kind of like becomes like, oh, that's how this person does their thing. They're speaking the truth, and that's true, but the way in which they kind of came up with the words, like, and the sentences and the delivery, that's all them kind of in a way. It's something that you can't help. You can't help but just have a style anyway.
It's actually because it goes both ways. It's incredibly, like you're saying, Glenn, individualistic, in that when that truth wave comes on the surfer, no surfer surfs the same way. The way, you know what I mean? Even if they're in the same wave, you will do it differently. Every human will deal with that kind of incredible upper level spiritual energy differently. But here's where it's universal. It being true. Like, take, for example, like all the different science advocates that out there that we like. They have lots of different styles. Like, there's none of them that are exactly the same. But the fact that 2 + 2 = 4, and it is a crime for someone to actually say it isn't, and like punishing you, they share that same truthful fervor. But how that wave comes out, like you said, totally different. Each one is unique.
Yeah, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'll clobber you in a different way as compared to like Richard Dawkins when it comes to 2 + 2 being 5, for example, right? They're going to go about it differently, but they're going to get impassioned regardless.
Exactly.
Because that's
and how that works that person. But you have that wonderful feeling of we're all individuals contributing a unique gift to this cause that only we can contribute, while at the same time looking around everyone in the room who's also evidence-based and going, you get it. You get it. Cool. Nice. Ben, please.
Sure thing. I just have a few beats left. Throughout my whole life, I have been very interested in story, and the particular stories that have interested me the most have been in video games. I want to do what I can to contribute to the cause as much as I can, and I think that one area that Podler has a lot of potential in is the development of Podler stories to add additional interest to the cause and the theory. My skills in the creative disciplines required to develop games are limited mainly to programming at the moment, but I plan to develop my skills in the creative disciplines of graphics and sound as well, which will greatly improve my skills in game development, as well as open up new doors for contributing to the cause in the future.
Very nice.
Artificial intelligence. Oh, sorry, was there something you want to say?
Just swirl for a second and see if anything comes to me.
Okay, sure.
That's great. Actually, you more just ideas of stuff I want to talk to you about, but that's for another day. So that's great. That's very stimulating.
Yeah. And I've actually already started a bit on this. I've been playing around with a game engine called Unity, and I've been doing some 2D stuff and 3D stuff, and I've had a lot of success in both areas. There's a lot of like skills I don't have yet, but like I was just so really surprised like how easy it was to like throw like just put things together. Like once we have like the character models and things like that, how easy it was to just like make animations and like create a map,
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah. It's
nice.
definitely, there's definitely some really powerful tools that are completely free to use that we can make use of.
Excellent, because Shiley and I, we're playing various video games, whether it be the high-end, big world games or the indie games that are more, low budget. Would be kind of good for us to look at in the beginning. But they just give you so many ideas of like how you could use that. Like a lot, like we once saw one was like in the dark, alone in the dark, something like that, and you were in this really cool artwork that didn't look like it would take the most money to do, but it was still cool looking. And as you went through various adventures, it taught you like the basic mythology of the Nordic Indian peoples, the Eskimo peoples, and so forth. And so it's actually rather educational and really fun to play. So I was like, oh, we have to do something like that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, please continue.
Yeah, and I think like as far as stuff that's that maybe isn't like too specific to the particular game that you're making. So, for example, if you just want like some assets, you know, for like trees and rocks and water and stuff, like you can get that stuff like for free, and you know, and then maybe just like modify it to suit your needs. You don't have to. There's so much stuff you really don't even need to build from scratch.
That's great.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff we will, of course,
Right.
like things like character models. I mean, if we want to make like an alien that's like a Naiji alien, we'll probably want to just do that, you know, mostly from scratch. But
Right.
but the other things like natural environment stuff and things like that, we can probably make use of a lot of stuff that's already available.
Yeah, and since we teach so much with color coding, we probably can take a lot of things that are pre-existing and then modify the colors to give a very distinct color scheme while still using a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
yeah, definitely. Like you can take grass and make it like orange or something if you want to. Yeah. So.
Right, anyway, please continue. Oh, just so Mitchell, plan was to have you go next when Ben's done, if that's cool with you, and then Glenn would go last. Does that work for you?
I guess so. Yeah.
All right, cool. Go to Ben.
Cool. Artificial intelligence is extremely trippy stuff, both in practice and in terms of its implications. Deep learning is what I'm most interested in at the moment, which I don't have the resources and time to work on currently, but I will certainly be looking to begin studying this within the next few years. It is a technology that is at the cutting edge of AI, and combined with image processing can be used to identify any object classification in uncropped images with incredibly impressive accuracy. Human quality recognition may be closer than we think, and I'm very excited to get involved with this as soon as I have the time and resources available to me. Mitchell and I are preparing to scrape pictures from the internet en masse to both benefit the sample server as well as collect initial data required to research the great case of human quality recognition.
Very nice. That's good, because that was a rather technical beat, but I had a clear vision of it, and it was more like an exciting story, even though it was technical. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I don't expect like people to know what all this stuff means, but it's kind of just it's a really popular thing. Like, so people tend to like have a sense of like what it means.
No,
so
exactly. Like,
yeah.
that's how I got the gist of it, and the exciting
Like when I say like image processing, like you might not really know like what that technically means in a lot of cases, but like you have an idea of what that means, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of.
That sounded good.
I'm a developer with a long road ahead of me. I have accomplished much in the past year, but I'm only just getting started. I have my whole career ahead of me and a long life to live serving the heroic cause of Podlair. I will continue to dedicate myself to producing legendary artifacts of artwork and engineering and channel this into expanding the power and scope of our research project and outreach ops as much as possible along the way.
Boom.
Engineering, legendary artifacts.
Artistry and engineering artifact. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like a blacksmith making like a freaking legendary sword. I don't know.
Yeah, when there's like I don't know, Elven or something, like, you know, they're like a wizard, cleric, everything combined, putting light in the sword, like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, or like like besides just a blacksmith, but also like because there's a lot of skills in that area. Like there's like you know, people who make like craftsmen that like makes a bunch of different things.
I
but like
myself
uses magic, you know.
Yeah, for myself, on that, when I really like, if you ever get a chance, when you're doing a project, it's very intricate, it takes a lot of time and so forth, but like your spirits in it, is those you see YouTube videos on the making of the Japanese samurai sword, and there's so much to it. There's like a whole culture around it, and like they go code Kensei on it to make this absolute apex piece of, you know, human engineering. It's pretty awesome, and how there's all these stages where it was a lump of steel and now it's a bar. It was a bar, now it's actually curved. It was curved, now it's a blade. And it's like, it looks so different each stage. I really dig that. And then the kind of like, the love and devotion you're giving all to make this thing, in this case, like a program or something, which is small, it seems it's huge. It's small compared to how much love and knowledge is being applied to it, and life force.
Yeah, and
That's-
yeah.
That's what makes artifacts so wowy. Is you actually have so much like love and knowledge and effort put into an object, and then other humans run into it. And generally speaking, that's what they call artifacts. People are like, "Whoa, what is that? How did that get here?" You know what I mean? It definitely commands attention.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things that's really beautiful about making artwork or music or programming is you start with, I mean, you start from nothing, basically, and then you might use some external tools and things like that, but you're basically you're taking an idea and then just starting from nothing, putting something down, and then just gradually adding to it, and then seeing what the result of that is, either testing it or listening to it, or and then just keep adding a little more and doing the same thing over and over again until you have the artifact that you want.
Totally, very much so. On that, some of those videos I was watching on that, like this, the person who's making the swords was walking out. And the person following around, they were finding the right places to get the ore to even begin it. And then before that, so the person was saying, oh, so really the sword making begins when you just go out in the fields looking for the right ore. He's like, no, it starts here. I walk around in nature until the spirits talk to me. And they put a thought in my head of a blade to make. And that is the beginning. And I really dug the spiritualness of it. I think it applies to almost any kind of thing.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, because you wouldn't know what ore you would want until you had the idea, right?
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
I really dug the spirituality of that.
Mm-hmm.
Please continue. You're ready.
Oh yeah, I'm actually done now. I finished. I went through all the beats.
Nice. That was great. That ended on a rush too. That was like, whoosh. That sounds great. So I think you're pretty close then to being able to start to say them for credit. For
yeah. I mean, I started today on beat 13 because we did the first 12 or 13 last time, and I know there was more notes last time, things to change in the earlier beats. So I think what I'll do is I'll make those changes, and then maybe I'll go through it one more time before trying to speak it on my own. Does that sound good? Or
yeah, sounds great. And one thing, just so you're aware of it, and whatever you do, it's fine. You may often find, I know I do myself, that when you start going to where you want to present, that as you get it to that state, which is more intense heat, that you apply once you've gotten it to this state.
Oh yeah.
And so be okay with yourself actually making some last minute adjustments to your lines, so to speak. You know what I mean? When you're actually there with the camera and you're getting ready and you're hot, you may adjust a few things and let yourself do that. Just be aware that often in that extra heat, as you're getting yourself ready for that last prep before going on camera, that can sometimes spur some last minute refinement that you may really eventually think was really one of the best things that you did.
Yeah. I think I'll do that too. Even after I go through it again with you guys, I'll probably go through at least once on my own, as I'm preparing to do it, and then make any changes, and then maybe make an attempt after that to try and do it for real.
That sounds really good, because it already sounds great now. So I think that plus any last refining should be good to go.
Nice.
Excellent. Okay, Mitchell, you are up. What do you have?
All right.
Oh, Ben, this just means even more pressure for us to get me back on the SAML server, because I'm going hard for Data Bedrock, so I'll be prepared to actually do the 2.0 of all the bubbles, right? The Mojo journalism. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm that's why, because I'm trying to race with you guys.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I don't know how hard it's gonna be, but I it seems like a thing that we should be able to work out with them. They should know how to help us with. So hopefully the web hosts can help us with their technical problems, so we can get you back on there.
The web host deities.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
One of the web hosts is something. Does something bad happen?
Nothing.
Just for me.
Yeah,
for
it's
some
just
reason, I
like the
can't get
website.
on.
The website's fine, but like Coach can't connect to it for some reason, and it just suddenly can't connect to it, and we don't know why.
Let's see.
All right. So when you're ready, Mitchell.
Excellent. So last time we'd gone over the 4 beats that I had, and you made some suggestions, I think, for at least the last one, the Star Wars beat. So I edited that accordingly. And then I have 2 more beats.
All right. You want to read through the edited and then the new?
Sure. I think I changed the other one. Okay. Well, the other 2 were already just edited before. Okay. So the world that remains closest to my heart, even as I have grown up, is Star Wars. My cousin introduced me to it, but my interest quickly outstripped something a normal person could keep pace with. The space opera established by the 6 original films was only a gateway drug. What truly sunk its hooks into me was the novels, video games, and role-playing books, which comprise perhaps the most epic mythos I am familiar with. It combines all my loves: technological monstrosities, the farthest reaches of space and comprehension, diversity of character, believable villains, and a magical force that connects and relates all things. Disney now owns the rights to Star Wars. Many hardcore fans like myself take the combination of the canonical Disney timeline and the more inclusive Legends continuity to encompass a worthy patchwork of stories told by an otherworldly chorus, containing more wisdom than I could ever hope to exhaust since it grows alongside me. Star Wars is a relational cosmos, evolving as surely as our own. I'm especially fond of the Jedi and the Sith, though I am convinced of the necessity to transcend both their ideologies. The Jedi taught me restraint, clarity of mind, and how to live a heroic flow with the universe, and the Sith taught me the glamour of the sinister, ambition, and how to turn the darkness to my advantage. The Twilight Order that I created with my friend Dylan combines the best of both worlds while eschewing the worst aspects. Star Wars is a marriage of twain ultimate frontiers, a journey to the outer edges of the universe, and an exploration of utmost capabilities of the mind and self-mastery. This marriage is etched in my heart, translating into my own quest to understand the universe, consciousness, how they relate, and what we're supposed to do about that.
Nice.
And then the new beats. Just make sure they're in order here. Okay. Many of my favorite fictional characters were unusual warriors of sorts, and in accordance with that, my Kinsei self-mastery activities are not limited to the abstract and imaginative. Ever since I was young, my father attempted to find a place for me in the world of athletics, and he has an extreme passion for sports. That was enough to earn him a spot in the Hall of Fame for racquetball, and he did not want his legacy to be extinguished. Going along with my family's penchant for racket sports, I slowly came to master tennis, earning a respectable national ranking, garnering a few college offers, and helping my team win varsity-level singles tournaments by my senior year in high school. Besides the accolades, I find playing tennis to be beneficial to me as a seeker and continue to partake of the activity today at a competitive level. It is a fun way to exercise and a way to meet people in an informal setting. Perhaps more subtly, the healthy, clean competition involved in the sport gives a perspective that allows the flourishing of a proper ego, humility, and respect for others, even in intense situations. As I've become more in tune with my peak pathway, I've also had to deal with an abundance of energy that doesn't get properly channeled through my primarily studious and heady pursuits. I can bleed this off through a combination of playing tennis at a vigorous anaerobic level several days a week, and through dancing unabashedly to my favorite music. This gives my crafty, elegant, thoughtful personal style a raw, artistic, visible expression.
Very nice.
That's cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
I definitely feel you. For me, I did more with martial arts back when I was doing that. And Ben, I think you were saying you did debate. I'm sure, Glenn, if you've experienced this in any kind of hobby way, is that I did like the clean competition of it. You know what I mean? Because like you said, it really allowed me to know when my ego needed to be stronger, that my position was bigger than my ego. I needed to fill that space up. And then other times where my ego is larger than my position, and I had to trim it back to be the appropriate size. And that clean, fair competition, it's good to have that. I did enjoy that. even now, what I do nowadays, I just listen to lots of YouTubers, and as I'm working, I'm listening to their opinions, and I'm going agree, disagree, sort of agree. Here's why, and I find the practice very, 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 very good.
That's a good point. Improve your reviews. All right, and then my next tweet. Alas, it has been exceedingly rare for me to find those who appreciate my deeper, quirkier, more reflective side. Through puberty, I came to have a much heightened self-consciousness and independent interests that led to much reclusiveness, in part chosen and in part forced. Every day in high school, my demanding college-level classes would require a formidable workflow from me. My parents would micromanage me and bombard me with intrusive questions about my academic performance and suggestions for my dwindling social life. And my athletic activities required a lot of energy, and all this led to an overwhelmed withdrawal. I rebelled against this imposition on my innate peak pathway by deliberately pursuing activities that required protracted alone time and pointedly avoided social interactions, which disappointed many friends and led to fierce conflicts with my parents. My interests were frequently reacted to with dismissal and sneers by my peers, and accordingly I became rather secretive, socially crippled, and actively feared most social interaction, in addition to being drained by it like a battery that needed charging by the nourishment of solitude. The tension with my parents mounted to a point of them desiring to fix me. All I knew is that I was more comfortable playing intricate video games like Oblivion, reading fantasy novels and science books, and reflecting deeply on my feelings and reveries. The discrepancy between what I wanted to do and the reactions to it filled my heart with an enmity that persists to this very day, and I have a powerful sympathy for those precious souls that toil in private, even as clumsy crowds attempt to force their participation in ill-conceived games.
Oh, very nice.
Nice. One thing that maybe is just a minor thing that might that you may prefer is I noticed that you mentioned the Elder Scrolls Oblivion at one point. Maybe saying like, but you said just Oblivion. Maybe saying the Elder Scrolls Oblivion would be useful because it could, like, if somebody was familiar with like the franchise or the series, that might increase the odds that they would, I guess, have that familiarity and that connection, I guess.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all.
Nice. So where does that put you at, Mitchell?
6 beats right now, but I've just been really busy the last few days. I'm gonna have a lot more time to work on this now.
Gotcha. No worries. All right, cool. Just trying to figure out where you guys are at and whatever you need. I'm trying to provide that for you. At the same time, I'm trying to get what L10 is going to need ready as soon as I can. All right. So I guess it turns it over to you, Glenn. What do you have
okay.
going on?
Sure. Let me just get you. I'm working on a few here. All right. So this one's culture, location, that sort of thing. So I was born in BC, Canada, and always liked living here because of its great scenery, but also found that its weather to be quite mercurial, which usually meant that it would rain a lot. It also stays more colder throughout the year as compared to more warm places, but it's nice living here. I've also moved to Toronto, Ontario as well, but my family and I only stayed there for a short amount of time before moving back to BC. I'm an Indo-Canadian, which is due to my parents both being from Punjab, India, but my sisters and I are born in Canada. The Punjabi culture in BC is very ritualistic and shows itself in the many festivities that many Punjabi people engage in. From Vaisakhi to extravagant weddings to visits to the Sikh temple or Gurdwara, this culture has been a big part of my life for much of my younger life. My younger years, I should probably say there. As I've aged though, I felt the desire to want to find my own way through life, which has meant that I separate myself from my culture and people to a certain degree. For example, I wanted to distance myself from the traditional ritualistic aspects of my culture because it didn't entirely appeal to me. My distancing from myself from the people was because I would not share in the same interests they did. Lastly, my desire to stop attending the Gurdwara was due to me realizing that I didn't accept the belief in a deity like the way the Sikh religion promoted, and the rules felt too constraining. So that's all I got for there as of right now.
That sounded really good. One thing, perhaps you may want to add a small fragment at the end of the last sentence. How can you read that last?
The last sentence, it kind of was just, lastly, my desire to stop attending the Gurdwara was due to me realizing that I didn't accept the belief in a deity like the way the Sikh religion promoted, and the rules felt too constraining. So something to kind of like cleanly end it.
What is the sentence before it?
My distancing myself from the people was because I would not share in the same interests that they did.
And before that?
For example, I wanted to distance myself from the traditional ritualistic aspects of my culture because it didn't entirely appeal to me.
Before that?
As I've aged, though, I felt the desire to want to find my own way through life, which has meant that I separate myself from my culture and people to a certain degree.
I almost feel that should go at the end. That's the power that you end on. That this is how you stepped away, but right now it ends on you sort of just separating. But actually prior to that, you mentioned that you're taking an independent thought, an independent action. So if you could move that to the end of it, it would end on, and I'm taking my independent way. So it's kind of like, so nothing would change information-wise, but just if you could put your assertion of Glenn's going his own way, which is what you did there, if that could be how it ends.
Okay, so then what do I replace? How do I make that transition then? Because it's going to be. So
what's the first sentence?
The very first sentence?
No, but yeah, what's that?
The one where I was talking about where I was born.
Okay, so talk about where you're born, and then what comes after that?
Second, the weather.
Then after that?
Toronto.
After that?
Indo-Canadian.
After that?
The Punjabi culture in BC is very ritualistic.
Okay, after that?
Then I go into examples, Vaisakhi, weddings, temple.
Okay, after that?
And that's when I get into, as I've aged through the years, I've felt a desire, blah, blah, blah.
And what comes after that?
Then I say, for example, I wanted to distance myself from ritualistic aspects of the culture.
Question, do you have to say, for example? So then that could come right after, do you mean? Instead of the sentence about Glenn's going his own way.
Okay, let me try it out. Let me see if it has a flow. It does mark a bit of a transition because I'm talking about like this being a part of my life, blah blah blah, and then I'm getting into, kind of like why I'm not partaking in it, and so I feel the need to sort of like want to explain that a little bit. So maybe it doesn't have to be the way that I did in that one sentence.
Okay, then maybe if they feel like too difficult to move it structurally, then perhaps just restating it shortly at the very end, which is my first suggestion. The last sentence is just saying, because it ends with you don't believe in the deity, you're stepping away. So I've decided to go my own way. Something like that, just a very short thing, so that's what it ends on. Glenn's, because what's in there, I think, is strong, but I want to make sure that to me, the takeaway is Glenn is going his own way. These are circumstances that he reacted to, and now he's acting as a person who goes his own way.
Okay. So
if you don't move it, I would just touch on it again at the end, like saying, which is why I go my own way, or which is one of the reasons I go my own way, something like that. But so I would end it on going your own way, because to me that's the power of the beat. The other things you mentioned are important, but they're things that happen to you. Your reaction as the hero, that's the takeaway, and your reaction was the heroic thing of, I'm going to go my own way then.
Okay. So with all that being said, and I said,
it doesn't have to be the own sentence. The last sentence you did, you probably could just put a comma at the end and go so I go my own way.
Okay, and therefore I go my own way.
Yep. Okay, the other thing is, it's a bit long. And
There's quite a bit of my beats are pretty long.
so, question. I felt like I actually heard
Two different things: the weather and then
Yeah, and I actually think it could be cool to end it on you being Indo-Canadian, because that's like a nice arc and it's intriguing. You drop that, they're definitely going to want to know more. That sets up the next arc. So it could be like where you're from, the weather's like this, I'm Indo such and such, which makes for an interesting whatever, right? Now you leave it vague, which, that sets up the next beat perfectly.
Okay. Then do I need to add maybe more to the whole the scenery, the weather, the kind of thing? Like,
No, I don't think so. That was strong. You already had the scenery, you already had like the locale, and then you had the weather, and then you talked about being Indo-Canadian. And so if you want to add anything there, you can just say, like, add a sentence or a fragment there saying, and so that's had a lot of influence on me.
you know what? I think I have an idea. I'm gonna probably add some more stuff actually to
Okay.
the whole, because it's actually talking about my travels a little bit, like my origins and my traveling a little bit. As far as I feel like I could probably make that its own kind of a thing.
Okay, sounds good. And then you have your kind of like independence of mind, like stepping away from the environmental cultural rituals.
Yeah.
That's strong. So you kind of have like high level where you've been influences, right? As we start off with, and then you kind of get into your independence of mind reaction. Yeah, because what I got from your first arc, and maybe this is what you're going for, you can flesh out a little more. Glenn has a complex background. And so that's a cool thing. And then the second part was like, but Glenn goes his own way.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is also another one. It's kind of like two different things I'm talking about. It gets into the beat that has to do with relationships. So I'm talking about like intimate relationships, and then I'd also talk about more just how I deal with people in general.
How long is it?
I'm not finished this one,
Okay.
so I'm wondering if maybe I should share it yet.
Yeah, if you do what you want, you can just go
It's
and
kind of a bit personal, but it's kind of also a little bit, I think, interesting to want to talk about. Maybe you can give me some ideas. So I think I'll probably, I guess I'll share them.
Thank you.
All right, so when it comes to the area of close intimate relationships, I am open to having one, but it will have to be with someone who is my other, and therefore they will have to have been read as a Nijai. They should have an interest in Podler because it would make for an easier relationship, but they don't necessarily have to be completely dedicated to the cause if they are not ready for it. I also take an active approach to meeting new people in general. This gets into the whole general people stuff. Through online and real life avenues, but I'm particular with the sort of company I like to keep. I naturally find certain people that I come across in my life to be interesting and feel called upon to want to know who they are and see if there can be mutual benefit in engaging them. I find opportunities to create dialogue, which gives me insight into the other person, and I am always trying to see if I can find common ground with them. If at any point I find that they have an interest in something that's related to my own interests, I steer the conversation into that area, like Podler, for example, and that's kind of like where I ended off, and I'm still thinking about
Maybe,
what I should say after that.
Okay, two things that came to mind there. One, on the last part, that might be a chance you can only drop like, say, 3 to 5 words, which isn't that many words compared to the size of the beat overall. But you could say like Podler, veganism, DNA, and maybe 2 more, just 4 or 5 things. That would say a lot about you as far as like what your interests are. And the way the sentence is set up, it's really set up to kind of give like a quick little like, here's some things I'm into.
Okay, so steer the conversation.
The way you ended it with like Podler and you kind of fade there, I think you could have just said like Podler, veganism, DNA, and I don't know what else you're into, and you kind of mentioned like a few things there because you basically said you want to connect with people on things you're into, and then instead of saying one, it really felt to me like that'd be a good place to drop a handful.
Okay.
Yeah, just like think of like 4 or 5 things you're into. I know there's Podler, there's veganism, there's DNA. Do you have some other particularly keen ones? 3's good. I'd say 3 to 5, but that gives a little bit of like, stuff that you're into.
Yeah, I could probably think of a few things. More hobby kind of related stuff, I guess. Maybe I could probably put that in there. But yeah, I think those three are pretty good.
Yeah. So I think to me that sounded really strong. One thing I am thinking though, I think I understand why you did it the way you did it, and there is sometimes a reason to do that, which is things that are more charged. You can sidestep them, you can ease into them, or you can just take them directly head on. All
Right.
three approaches have benefits. So talking about intimacy of partners is the most charged of this arc.
Right.
To
It's
me,
kind of like what I was trying to think of. Like, how do I talk about this? Breach the topic.
yeah. So actually, for me, I think you could move what you said about the other to the end and make it what you end on. Because, like, do you know where read it out to me real quick. Where you make the transition.
Right, I see. I think I see what you're saying. Like, I'm talking about like just meeting new people in general, and then I can sort of like ease into like more
Yeah, 'cause
serious relationships.
Because you go how you meet people in general, and then you're like, but then I really bond with people if they have certain interests, and then the most bondy is the other.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying there. That's a good idea.
Because I think in conversation, this is key, Glenn. Again, you can make a decision, but that's a very particular move to lead with the more provocative or more intimate or more charged. Because usually people will talk about, like their school stuff, and then they'll go to family, and then they'll go dating. Do you mean that's typically how humans tend to kind of escalate the sort of trust level who they're talking to?
I see. That's actually interesting to know.
And because perhaps this gets into where, like, if you want to lead with it. But in general, if you don't know who you're dealing with, you're more exposed talking about, for example, your opinions on intimate partners. People tend to have much stronger opinions and can be more reactive. Not that you need to care, but you should be aware.
Right.
Whereas if you talk about, in general, I'm more of a loner, or in general, I'm pretty social, people tend to be like, okay, that's how they are in general. When you say, with my family, I'm like this, people have more opinions about family than the public. And then people have, in general, they have the strongest opinions about intimate partners.
Right. So how, like, depending on how close that person is in your social circle, like if they're just an acquaintance, if they're a friend, if they're a best friend, if that can be more than that, and then family, obviously, and then obviously when it gets into the really intimate stuff. So yeah, I see what you're saying. It totally makes sense. So kind of started off from
Yeah, I don't think I changed much.
Waters.
I don't think I've changed hardly anything except when you switch. When you switch, you did a little segue in the beginning of the sentence. If you take that little segue fragment out, that's about it.
Segue.
Yeah, when you transition off of the intimate partner into more general.
Also, I also take an active approach to meeting new people in
Yeah,
general.
I also take it, and see that also is saying that there was a previous comment, which is the other here.
Okay, so I could just get rid of the also then.
Yeah, and just get rid of that, and then take the other and put it at the end. I think you're golden.
Okay, I'm gonna have to adjust the words around a little bit, but that sounds like a good idea. That sounds like it's gonna work. Apart from that, those are the only two new ones that I've been working on just sitting here with you guys.
That sounds good, though. Sounds strong.
Yeah, so we could probably I'll continue to come up with more stuff here.
Okay. So you guys want to try and tease out a little bit, and then we got like say 15 minutes here. Maybe each kind of just maybe take about 5 minutes, maybe talk about what you're thinking next or what's on your mind, and then if there's nothing else, then we can sign off, and Ben and Charlene can talk just for a minute about how to hopefully fix my situation.
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay,
I don't really have much to talk about in terms of
yeah,
what I'm doing.
you're pretty far along. You're pretty far along.
Yeah. I mean, all my beats are done. The only thing is I'll probably continue to make changes and stuff.
Yeah, but you're pretty much now
But,
getting ready to start rehearsal. You're pretty much rehearsing now for presentation. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Mitchell, did you have anything you wanted to talk out, like something that you wanted to maybe unspool a little bit, or?
I didn't have anything in particular. I know that the next few beats I was going to do, the next one was going to be kind of going along with the arc that my last beat had. I was going to talk about my introduction to typology and some of the good and bads of that. And then from there, I was probably going to start transitioning into Podler stuff.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, then I guess we can go ahead and call it here for today. We can go sign off, and then Ben can stay on afterwards.
Sure thing.
All right, so bye, world. I'm stopping the broadcast.
Bye, world.